Okay, let me see if I can get this thing working. Where's the on button? Okay. What's going on there, everybody? I gotta get this thing all set up, so let me do this. Screen. Gotta turn my border back on. Okay. You guys gotta bear with me for a second here. I've got to get the other camera up and working. I'm still learning its ins and outs. So hopefully it's not too. Okay, so why is it not okay? Good, no signal. Is it working now? Hello? Okay, so it's not okay. I should have gotten another Sony. This thing keeps doing this every single. There we go. Okay, that is good. So how am I gonna get this over here? I need to zoom that. Right? Okay. Get everyone a few moments to join. Yeah, I know the resolution 1600 by 900. I do not do 1080p right now. I should. I just never remember to turn it over. Let's see who's all texted me. DoorDash. Yeah, I had Chick-fil-A ordered for dinner because I didn't have time to cook, so I had it taken care of for the kids and myself. What's everyone else doing? What did everyone do for dinner tonight? That's a better question. Dear Twitter, we won't change the mind of toxic people, but we can change the way it hurts us. Oh, whatever. Okay. My stream. Your channel. Yes. I gotta turn the volume down. Okay. Alrighty. We gotta get this thing out of the way. The keyboard, what makes it hard to respond to people. So hopefully whiskers galore. And this guy right here. We'll bring this down so we can figure out where to place the camera. This, and then my iFixit. Oh crap! And then I gotta adjust the bar. I should have probably tested this out earlier. It is set to public, so this needs to go up. Lock. Then we can bring that down. Right? Can I zoom in? Okay, I can. Alrighty. Now, here we go. How am I going to do the light? Do I need to put the light down a little bit better? I think I kind of want to lower this. Okay. And I mean, it can zoom in more. Yeah, we can zoom in more. Now, how am I going to do the light? I do need to put this over there and bring this channel over here so I can see chat and get that off of the screen. Okay. Calvin, you're not playing in here right now, dude.
Wait, I gotta quit the game.
Oh, okay.
Hmm?
Dude.
You gotta quit the game.
Uh-huh. I love my kid hanging out in here. So, I'm trying to think if I point that light down better. Because the light is not what I consider optimal. It looks all right. We can bring the camera down and zoom in some if we need to. So that's not too bad. Does it look like your save? Uh-huh. There you go. Yes. Anyways, I gotta get a tweet out here and letting everybody know because I don't know if YouTube notifies. All right. We're gonna quote this.
Just in case you're gonna stream on the Xbox, I'm gonna put the controller on the Xbox one.
Okay. There we go. All righty. I gotta love my kids. Wait. No. Streaming out, please. Thank you. They know I stream. Kids, I love being a dad. I really do. It's just tonight they're being extra special on the amount of attention that they would like, and my daughter is being very, I don't know, you could say needy, clingy, want, I think, maybe screaming. Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, so we're gonna talk about motherboards tonight, parts of a motherboard. I do. You know what we can do while we're waiting for this is we can look. I need to get another desktop light. So what we'll do is we'll turn off the camera for right now here, and we'll bring over a wonderful Amazon window. Desktop photo lamp light. Let's see what they got. Product light. I guess it's a product light. So we can see what we got. These are basically what I have now. And I guess they would work. But no, the newer, these are the ones I don't have these ones. I'm not familiar with the eMart. These are the ones I have right now that are giving me the lights up at the top for my face. So for 40, I don't know if I want to spend $40 on something. I only need one light. I mean, video conference lighting kit. No, I don't need it on. That's going to go on top. It needs to be like right here above that I can point over. I'm not paying $90 for a Lume Cube. I'm sorry. That looks stupid as crap to me. Streamlight. There's so many gadgets have come out since COVID. Oh, no, that's different, but that would interfere with the camera. See, I can't have something with the top down because I want to be able to take photos from the top. What's the whole purpose of having the camera? So, what is this? Okay. Yeah, but you're still taking the pictures. It's not from the top. I have a feeling I'm just going to have to get... See, now this is cool because these come on pedestals. But they're freaking $40. But I do like the fact that it's got a foot on it. I don't like these. This, honestly, the foot on this is probably one of the most annoying parts of the newer lights. Whereas the lights look the same. And they're not overly big, but I do like the base better. What do you guys think? Same typical control. It looks like just the exact same thing as the newer. 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like 10 by 7. What do we got? 1, 2, yeah. Same one's 10 by 7. So same number of LED and density. Don't worry. I don't plan on doing makeup. Don't worry. And we definitely put the filter on. Does it come with the filters? Yeah, it comes with the clear filter. So yeah, that actually might be worthwhile to get. But I just don't like the base on this. So, okay. We'll move this over now. I don't even remember what's in my cart. I think maybe my wife put something in the cart. What do we got in the cart? Oh, sweatshirts. I'm probably not supposed to have seen those. Oops. Tell the wife later. It's all right. She'll forgive me. Okay. So that's closed. So what is everyone else up to? I think we've probably got just about, I'm still getting new to the YouTube stuff. Let me see what we can do is we can come here and look, and you guys can see everything that's involved. We can go to Twitch, Twitter. So understand motherboards to help people learn to build their own PC. We're public. Thumbnail, but we're live. So what I do after I get done is I set these to private, and that ends up I have to change that every single time for every stream, which is why when I went live last week, it didn't pop up right away. And then I put some tags in here, English stuff. No changes. What's the thing for live? Enable live chat. I'm not doing slow mode, but for those that are interested in how you do this, this is where you do all of this stuff, and we're doing under science and technology. And then this is where I see the live chat, because in OBS I don't see live chat like I do with Twitch. So I have to have this stream up, or I have to have it over elsewhere. So anyways, let's get this rolling. And there's a little fly in here. It's going to be driving me nuts. So for those that are new, I'm geek. Trying to change up my format and do a little bit more technical stuff on YouTube, and then more gaming and everything on Twitch, which is where we're at right now. So bear with me as we sort through everything that's associated here. Now, I think, did I have another scene? I think this is set up to move my camera out of the way. I believe. Yes, it is. Now we need to come in here and we need to turn this camera back on. All right. Now I should be in the top left-hand corner, out of everyone's way, just the keyboard or whatever. And so we're going to talk about motherboard tonight. One of the things I get a lot of questions about is this plate right here that you see on camera. Usually it comes attached to the motherboard, but I'm going to put it back on because I had an AIO on this one, or a liquid cooler, and I ended up, my buddy who's brought his PC over that caught on fire because he bought really cheap cables, ended up needing a new AIO, so he couldn't get the one he wanted, and he was on a bit of a budget. So I sold him the old H100 that I had from Corsair. And for my wife's PC, I'll order it. I think her case fits the H115. I'm not sure. We'll check it out. when we get to that point. But I wanted to show you how easy it is to swap out the mount plates. And this is just a generic. They come in different types depending if you have Intel versus AMD. And then if you're putting on a heatsink or if you're putting it on an AIO, whatever that stuff, these come out differently. So what we're going to do is, and bear in mind, be patient. Once I have the new office set up, I'll actually have a table dedicated to the build, so it'll be a lot better. I'm going to get a different camera that allows for a lot better wide angle as well as a lot better zoom of the build sections. But for now, all you got to do is take the screws out to hold this down. And underneath, so the circuits and the motherboards are a lot more durable than a lot of people give credit for. And all we're doing is we're just going to latch these 4 holes up to the bottom and put them on. And then I'll hold it up so you guys can see. You take, these are the brackets that come with it by default. And you want this clip right here. Let me see if I can get it to focus. Come on. Now, I'm really sucking at this thing. Come on, focus on the hand. Not on the board. Wow, it really doesn't want to change focus. Anyways, this clip that it now focused on goes to the outside. So all we're going to do is come over here, put it down on those 2 things, take your trusty screwdriver. If you can do it one-handed, so be it. Drop it in. And screw it down. It's pretty easy. Now the cool thing is, with the way the plate is, you can literally set this down on the table, and the weight of the board is going to hold these clips that you're going to put on in place. Now I don't typically use these for mounting almost 99% of the time, which is the reason I had them off, is I never use the defaults. Liquid cooling is so inexpensive now that I really don't see a need to keep the defaults on or even use a regular heatsink. Now, if you're, and especially since most of the processors now don't come with heatsinks anymore, they used to. AMD used to. Intel doesn't send them with them. I believe the 5000 series doesn't come with a heatsink anymore. So you either have to buy a third-party heatsink for 40 or 50 bucks, or you can go out and get a liquid cooler for $100, $150, or up towards $300 or more, depending on the sizes. You do need to make sure that whatever case you put a liquid cooler in will fit it. If it's a 240 mil rad, a 280, a 300, 320, whatever, you make sure your case is going to fit that rad. But as you can see here, we now have the mounts on. So if I wanted to go get a heatsink and put it in, I can. Now, let's talk about the processor. So we're trying, what we plan to do tonight is just go over the parts of a motherboard, and probably a little bit more layman's term than a lot of people do, because you see a lot of guys doing the builds, the PC builds and everything. And it's kind of, they kind of get a little frustrated with it because they don't know what they don't know, or the manuals can be a little confusing, or they don't feel like reading the manuals or seeing the manuals or any of that other stuff. So if you guys have any comments or questions, please let me know. I'm not seeing any chat, kind of wigs me out, but I'm just going to put a test in here to make sure the chat's working. How long is the chat? So my live chat on this screen is not working. So what if I refresh that screen? Okay, there we go. Now it's working. Geek's there, Genome's there, Spark. So my bad. This wasn't working. The chat screen wasn't working. Glad I tested that. Don't know why it wasn't working, but it's working. So I'm sorry I didn't see everything. How you going, Genome? If you guys got questions, please stop. Let me know. You sent me a link in Discord for one. Okay, let me look. Amazon portable lighting. All right, let's pull that over. Oh, that's not bad. That would actually work. and it's not super big, and I could take it on the road with me, so that's not bad. I'm going to share that link with everybody. Thanks, Genome. That actually, and the price is pretty decent. I could actually, that's small enough to get out of my way. Go figure. I'm the admin. I'll have to share it out on Twitter because it won't let me chat it out. But yeah, so I can get some more lighting on this one, which is a good thing. Anyways, so we hear one of the things I want to talk about is getting the processor on here. Is a lot of people get confused on the processor. There is usually a typical triangle on it that lines it up. Good God, I'm gonna have to learn. This is like learning to drive in reverse. What are we doing here, geek? Okay, let's just come down. Okay, I'm gonna have to learn how to do this. Looks small enough. Yeah, it's small enough and cheap enough. But there's gonna be a triangle in one of these corners of the processor that lines up of the mount for the processor that lines up with a triangle that's either on the top of or the underside of a processor. Now, I don't have any readily available, otherwise I would show you. But you line those up, and all you do is you lift this post up one finger, no force or anything. You put the processor into place. It's going to fall right in. Try not to touch the top of the processor or the trace wires coming out of the bottom, the copper out of it. It's going to fit right into place, and then you just push this down, and it'll lock the processor in place, okay? So that's just where your processor goes. Whether if you have this is an Asus ROG Strix X570E gaming motherboard. So this is made for AMD processors, 3000 series or 5000 series with the BIOS. It's got a little bit more bells and whistles than other boards do, but that's where the processor would go. And this will support, again, this is the exact same motherboard I have in my gaming system, which has a 5950X in it. This is going to be the board that's going to go in my wife's system with the 3950. So she's pretty excited about that. While we got the board here, I want to talk about power real quick. And so right here, well, first we'll come here. Come on. I'm a little latent. Is this right? Come on. This is the 24-pin power connector. This is the big cable that will go from your power supply or UPS to the motherboard. This one most people don't get confused on. What they do get confused on is when you come up to here and they see these two, an 8-pin and a 4-pin. Now this is common on Asus motherboards, on MSI motherboards, I believe, and a few others. The cheaper motherboards might only have the 8-pin or they might have two 4-pins. In this case, if you get an Asus motherboard, you're going to have power coming to the 24-pin here, and then you're going to have power coming to the 8-pin for 99% of the users out there. And what this does gives extra power to your PCI and other peripherals that are built into the motherboard. This 4-pin from Asus and a lot of the other boards that are usually more specialized is if you get into overclocking. So you don't need to put a 4-pin on this one unless you have a processor that's going to be overclocked, you have a special BIOS, or you know what you're going to be doing. So if you get this Asus motherboard specifically for you want to build a gaming motherboard and you're not going to overclock, and I mean hardware overclock, like liquid cooling your GPU, liquid cooling your CPU, maybe making some changes and heat sinks, changing some of these heat sinks out, you're not going to need or will you use this 4-pin. It's just not needed. So keep that in mind. If that confuses while you're building it, you're, again, really, the manual doesn't do a great job of explaining it. Asus needs to step up their game, and a lot of other board manufacturers as well need to do a little bit better job of explaining all that. So if you get in the motherboard, yeah, I'm going to have to get used to. I can't wait till I have the standing desk and I can do a little bit better with the zoom. I remember watching a stream from Robitech. He was talking about when he was first getting started out, trying to do with the camera, and he got a little away from it. But for me, I really, really want to make sure that, like, when I start building PCs live stream, yeah, it is almost all the manuals lack hardcore for beginners. It's just not, they're just not conducive. They're poorly thought out too. And you would think that the manufacturers know by now that their target audience, they're just like, well, we want people to go build it because You know, we don't want them to break it, but you never know. So the power, this is why I tell people, like, lately I get asked a lot, what's the minimum wattage for a power supply I would recommend for people that are either buying a pre-built PC, which is about the only way to get parts right now, or that are building it their own, and you're going to get a new next generation processor and a next generation graphics card. I wouldn't go anything less than the 750 watt power supply, and that should be sufficient unless you're doing some really insane stuff. But I'd feel more comfortable with an 850 watt. I run an 1100 watt. I want to put in CBs, I think, is a 1000 watt or a 1050 watt. I can't remember. The one that's going in Celia's system is a 1050 watt power supply. And be mindful of what you get. I don't skimp on my parts. Again, my buddy went cheap on his parts and he got his PC caught on fire. One of the reasons why NZXT had case fires going on for him for a while is because they outsourced their cables, and the manufacturer, the contractor that made them for him, was using really pathetically bad gauge wire, and it just couldn't hold it and was catching fire. Gamers Nexus did a really good video on it. We could pull it up. I shared it. I was really surprised they retweeted my tweet on it and everything. So got to be mindful. Don't go cheap. You could cost yourself a whole lot more in the long run. You could save $50 or $100 on the front end, but you could spend thousands of dollars in lost memories, hardware, and everything else if you have a fire. So it's from here, once you have the processor in and we now understand the power supply, let's talk about the memory slots, okay? On this board, there's 4 of them, but what confuses a lot of people is on the old ones, they used to all open up. Only one end on this one does. Now, if I was to get a new motherboard and I wanted to get a high-end one, I would get the motherboard that only has 2 slots for RAM, which means it's a single channel board, or it's you can dual channel the RAM, but I'm only going to use one. And let me see if on this board, if I can find it. Right here, let me get this a little bit closer. You can see that it identifies DIMM B1, B2, A1, and A2. So what you do is, and you see on these schematics, and this is common almost every motherboard out there or in the manual, you don't just put the RAM and the 2 sticks together. You don't put them B1, B2. And you'll see asterisks next to those diagrams. When you have 2 sticks of RAM, you're going to be using both channels, you want to stick a stick of RAM in each asterisk slot. If you have 4 sticks, then it really doesn't matter. If you only have 2, then I'm going to use this slot right here, and I'm going to use this slot right here. So you just follow the diagram. Now, that doesn't make a lot of sense, but with how dual channel memory works, your processor's handling a lot of stuff, the motherboard's handling it, but it's essentially, it's splitting the RAM up. Stick the RAM in. Yes, Vet, stick it in. I didn't say that. So it's answered right there. So if you look at your motherboard, it'll usually have that diagram pretty much pinned out right away. I know Asus does it, Gigabit does it, MSI does it, Aurorus does it. Almost every single motherboard is going to have that on there. So if in doubt, look for the motherboard, take the sticks of RAM. Most people get 2 sticks. The kits come in 2 anyways nowadays. So stick them in the asterisk. And I know where Vet's going to come up with the name on that one. I just know it. Dagnabbit. Anyways, since we still got the board up here, let's just go across. I'm not going to try and spend too much time wasting everybody, but if people have questions about how to do the motherboard and everything else, which is what the whole purpose of this is. These are fan power ports or headers, so you can plug in your fans to get them power. And then this white one, you might think is for a fan. It's actually an RGB header. So those that want to give your computers a whole lot of color and everything, you don't want to use like a Commander Pro, or you just want to go budget and use the built-in controller on the motherboard. There's a couple headers. They're usually white. The fan's usually going to be black with these little come on, get on the stream. Little lineup clips by my fingers. I can't really see it. Let me Try and get up a little bit closer there. And the fans will clip right in there, line up with it, whereas the RGB header is only going to, fit all 4 on there. And those will be periodically spread out throughout the boards. Like there's one there, there's one here, there's 2 down here. And then there's some of the headers have 3, some of them have 4. The 3s are typically the, give me a second to remember the name. It is the addressable header. So you can actually, the ones with the 3 in it are addressable, whereas the ones with the 4 are just regular RGBs. Anyways, so if you want to do colors, you can. This here also, and you're going to find fan plug outs throughout the whole board. This pin out right here, come on, is if you want to put a security device on your board, that means that they have to be able to authenticate from a security standpoint. Most gamers don't really care for that. Why it's on a gaming board, I have no idea. It's really kind of confusing. Then you have this port right here, which most of your motherboards that gamers are buying are going to be B550, ARGB. No, it's that one is the TPM port, Genome. Or are you thinking about the ARGB, the addressable RGB? Yeah, the 3 pins are 3 pins are ARGB headers, and the 4 pin are just RGB headers that'll let you get powered to the RGB if you hook a fan or something. Also, each one of the fans will have typically, say, fan 1, fan 2, processor fan, AIO fan like this one here. If my finger's there, will say like AIO or water block. Many times liquid cooling is called AIO. So you're going to put that there, and you'll put one of the fans that are on there. And this is going to allow you to get the readouts to, like if you have a Kraken or the software for the Corsair, you can put the display right up there on the screen, or transparency low, put it in the bottom left corner or another screen. So if you want to see how your system's temperatures and thermals are going, that's typically where you can get that information. So fans, TPM port. This here is what's called USB 3.2 Gen 2. Typically, a lot of people refer to this one as USB-C, which is the funky adapters that aren't traditionally USB. These ports right here allow for up to 10 gigabits of data transfer rates, whereas this one here looks way different, is a USB 3.2 Gen 1, and it only has gigabit transfer rates of up to 5 gigabits, whereas these are USB 2.2 ports right here. I think they're between 2.2 and 2.5 gigabits. I have to go look. So it doubles so far. They've been doubling. While we're down here, we'll talk about this port here. This is your audio plug. So most cases are going to come with audio ports, or in this case, most of the motherboard's going to come with the cable, or the case will come. You'll connect this, and it'll go to the case if it's got a speaker or something. It just lets you connect it for the headphone jacks, the import out for analog, all this, although you do have that on the back. So it's kind of different, but it just lets you plug into the case. So if you want to plug in, because not always going to be able to go to the back of your motherboard to plug everything in. This here is a error code port, a Q code. Not all motherboards have them. I like that ASUS does. Most of the MSI do. You'll get an error code on here that you can look up if your board's having an issue. There's temperature issues, when your controllers are going out. Any of those kind of things are on there. This here is a CMOS battery. You typically won't have to change it out, but if you go to boot your system, there's nothing coming on, it's beeping. It could tell you that the CMOS is low. And these you just take a screwdriver, you pop this out, this comes out, goes in. They're really like $3 or $4 to get, and they last for years and years and years. So you really typically won't see them too much. Some more fan ports right here. I'm just trying to get you guys used to what these are. So if you do want to build it, I'm getting to the most difficult thing that I have to help people with all the time, and you're going to see it in just a second. So here's some more fan ports. The ROG Strix really did one thing really right. It gave you plenty of built-in power ports for your fans. I believe 7 of them. So, yeah, 7 fan ports. 7 fans in a system is quite a bit. My box has 1, 2, 5, 6, 7. It has actually 8 in it. But again, I'm running kind of a beefy system. Most are going to have 7 fans. So if you don't want to have to get a fan controller and you're just going to run regular fans, you don't care about RGB, this is the way to do it. There's some more RGB headers right here. This pin that you'll see a lot of time in documentation, standalone is a, oh man, I'm going to have to get better with the camera port. Okay. Which way do I go? Not that way. Anyways, God save the Queen. Let me pull it down a little bit. What the crap, people? There we go. Nope. This is just going to drive me nuts. So anyways, there's a, right here, there is a, put it up close enough in front of the camera. Maybe we'll get it in the right spot. Come down. I give up. I give up. I give up. Right here, here's what's called a clear CMOS port, and you just jumper those to clear it out. I got to work on my camera control. I've now made note of that. This here on the end of the motherboard is the case pinouts. And this is probably what drives people the most nuts when they're trying to build their PC. Not putting in a processor, not putting in the RAM, not even putting in the hard drives, which I'm going to show you how to put the M2s in a minute. Not putting in the graphics cards in the PCIe slots. None of that. This right here confuses them the most. And you have to go use the manual. The top row, in many cases, is for like a speaker. But it's these pins right here where you got your power on, your reset hard drive lights. And if you don't get these, when you go press the power on the case, nothing's going to work. So you actually have to have those there. Just saying. Kind of a pain in the butt, I know. But if you look at the manual, they do a really good job of laying it out. And then a lot of times, like the LEDs and the power reset, they might be separate. The LED one, you have a plus and a negative, and it really doesn't matter. They just go right into the pins. Some of them go left to right, and some of them go 1 and 2. So think horizontal or vertical. So you really have to look at the manual. Most of the time, it's going this way, back and forth. So be mindful when the board is telling you you need to connect your case. This is where it's going. And again, if you have a USB-C port on the top of your case, most of the new cases do, it's going to have a connector that fits here and nowhere else. If you do not have this on your motherboard, it's just going to be a loose cable that you can tuck up out of the way, because unless you go buy an adapter, it's not going to happen, and you probably don't want to spend the $20 or $30 to use a PCIe Express port for that. Just not feasible. Now, what we want to talk about as well is, I'm going to put this down. We can zoom in a little bit better. Did I go the right way? Nope. Is these here are PCI Express lanes. This is a PCIe 16. This is a PCIe 1. I believe this is 1. You have 4, 8, 16. And these are all PCIe 4th gen on the AMD boards, whereas on the Intel boards are PCIe 3. All the next generation graphic cards are PCIe 4. Some of the complaints and some of the issues that you've seen popped up because the motherboard drivers haven't been updated is they weren't sure how to handle PCIe 4 gen cards being plugged into PCIe 3 slots. So you'd have some firmware updates and everything like that. So that's what you've got to put those in. And then for those that are curious about where the M2s go, and there's going to be a question. I'm going to show it to you. One of the common questions a lot of people ask because they just don't know is around this film stuff. Now, I don't know if it's still on here because, again, I had this in another system that my wife was going to use. But so this is just the fan shroud coming off. Real easy. Be careful. Again, they're not as fragile as you think they are. For this one, there's 2 M2 slots on this board. If you look them up, you'll want to find out which one the M1 slot is and which one, primary and secondary. The Asus ROG, both ports act equally as fast. So we're just going to pop this one off. And I'm going to show you. There should be adhesive on the bottom. I can't remember if I left it on or not. Yep, there is. So typically, this is going to have a blue film over the top of it, like a sticker. And a lot of people are like, oh, I got to leave that on. I got to leave that on. You need to take it off. Okay, you need to touch this to the M2 drive. It helps. It's a thermal tape. It helps disperse the temperatures on it. Now, most of those M2s work just fine with all of that, but don't leave the plastic on. You could smell some burning stuff. Your M2 is going to plug into here. This will move depending on this little screw right here. This mount can move to any one of these ports depending on the M2 drive you have. If you have a 256 gig, a 512, 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte, was about the max size you're going to get out of M2 right now. Depending on the length is where you're going to put the post. And I think I put the screw for it away already. But then once you put your M2 drive in, you put a screw in to hold it down. The newer boards that have started coming out in the last 3 or 4 months, they've gotten rid of the need for you to do that. And it's all in one. So it just clicks into place. You don't have to worry about screwing the M2s in place. Now, if I wanted to put an M2 in, it'd go here. You put it at a 45-degree angle. It snaps in, only goes in one way. You can line it up and come down, push it down. Same thing over here. I could put 2 of them in on the system. Some of the cheaper motherboards only have 1 M2 slot, and others have more. Some of I've seen with as many as 4, but in my book, you don't need anything more than 2. I do like the performance that M2 slots provide, the M2 drives provide. In my system, I have 2 of them, and I have them RAID striped 0 together. Some people are like, that's a waste of time or energy. It's a slight improvement on performance. It gives me roughly around 7 to 8% better read-write performance, which is what I'm going after. Yeah, toolless M2, straight up. You might still have to unscrew the covers, Gino, but they're going to get away from making it to where you have to screw them down. That was the biggest complaint that the industry, even professional game builders or PC builders, were giving them. Is like, this just doesn't make any sense. And you're going to see people damage the M2 drives more often than not because they forget to move those posts, and they either have a longer one or something, and all of a sudden they mash that screw mount into the M2 and either ruin the heatsink, the NAND that's built into it, or any of that other stuff. And it's just not all that great. And so just like Legos or a puzzle, these come back out. I love my iFixit set, especially since I don't have really good feeling in these fingers anymore. All you got to do is come down in here, and since it's magnetized, just drop it in. Call it good. Now, like some boards as well, they have multiple SATA drive support for older hard drives. I haven't used SATA in a very, very long time. I probably should. I use external USB 3.2 Gen 1 arrays for mine, so that the 5 gigabit transfer speeds is still relatively pretty solid. As you can see on this board though, I do have the option for 8 SATA drives if I wanted to. Probably not going to happen, not in my house, but if you want to use a lot of storage, go that route, so be it. Storage, depending on how the new cryptocurrency goes, that's causing a rush on SSD drives, less of a rush on M2 drives. You know, for cheap enough to get 2 terabyte hard drives for $300, if you save up for them, and you end up with 400 terabytes, or 400 terabytes, got to be a lot. 4 terabytes of M2 storage for gaming and OS and all that, it'll be fine. Now, if you do get this board or a board that runs 2 M2s, get one for your OS, and it could be a 500 gig if you want. I don't buy anything less than a terabyte anymore. I just won't do it. I think manufacturers also need to stop making 500 or 256 gig storage drives. I think they just need to toss this to the curb and say, forget it. Half a gig or bigger. Windows Pro 2010 Pro, it runs around, after I get everything set up with Office and just my basic everyday kind of thing, it runs around 140 to 150 gig install for my day-to-day softwares. And then with the swaps and everything else, the virtualization and all that, you want to double that space. So all of a sudden if you have 150 gigs of install, you want to have roughly 300 gigs of hard drive space. 256 gig, you're already out of space. You don't have any room for games or anything. So the fact that they're putting those in, when someone says that, it really kind of irks me and rubs me wrong, because then they're just, yeah, sure, I get it. You might be on a budget or something, but in the long run, you need to be able to make use of your system. And if you're constantly running and fighting out of it, I mean, there's a couple people that messaged me, their hard drive, their partition was full, their temp directories were filling up, the recycle bin was full because I deleted all those files, and they didn't realize that it went to the recycle bin, and that still kept up space. One family I helped out, there was I want to say there was over 100 gigs of files in the recycle bin eating up hard drive space. So 256 gigs is just baloney for me. Anyways, so then you've got the M2. So I do 2 M2s. Usually I do 1 terabyte. And then if I'm on a budget, another 1 terabyte drive for the games and everything else. A lot of them now, with the prices coming down, I do a 2 terabyte primary and a 2 terabyte secondary drive. That's just my takes on it. But that's the gist of a motherboard. For anyone building, you don't need to know a whole lot about it, other than it's more sturdy than you think. The highlight recovery here, look for can't see it too well, the triangle to put the processor in, right? God save it. To line up your processor when you put it in. Doesn't take a lot of force, just a fingertip, push it down and you're good to go. You don't have to use all the power ports, this 4-pin on an Asus board, unless you're overclocking, not needed. So use the 8-pin to provide more power and stability to your peripherals, specifically, usually your PCIs. Then you have the primary 24-pin power. Your RAM, remember, look for the diagram on the board that shows you where to put them. You're going to go in A1, B1, B2, A2 for your first pair. They lock down here usually. You got your fan power. The white is usually your RGB headers. Okay. This is your most difficult part right here. Look in the manual. Make sure you get this to connect your case, power on button, reset button, LED stuff to the motherboard. So that'll work. This is your audio port usually that lets you plug in your headphone jacks to the top of everything. Your USB 3.2 Gen 1, which is going to usually be your USB ports that are built into the top of the case. If there's a USB-C, that's going to be this guy right here, which is USB 3.2 Gen 2, 10 gigabits versus 5 gigabits. You do have USB ports. This is going to you're going to lose one of these if you put a liquid AIO on there. That'll take up one of those that goes to the liquid cooler, to the pump. and so you can get temperatures and everything. Here's going to be your error code spot. Double check this one here. This, I believe this is specific. Let me remember. This is a Node plugin. This is a Node connector. And what this does is if you want to add more fan ports or supported Node from ASUS, you can do so. What's up, Bob? Most people aren't going to use this, and most motherboards aren't going to have this outside of ASUS. So I wouldn't even really worry about it. It's going to be for more advanced builders. They're going to be a little bit more familiar with the motherboards. You probably will never use these little PCI Expresses. These are for like if you want to add a wireless antenna to your system, you want to add an extra storage option for an M2, not the fastest M2, but like an M2 or some sort of external storage that ports in that you don't want outside the case. There's a few peripherals that you can put into them. These are going to be where your typical your graphics cards are typically going to go here. So on my system, I have my 3090 FE goes in this slot, and in this slot is my Elgato HD 60K Pro capture. You could actually, in these cards here, they're coming more and more common on higher end motherboards. These are really specific for like an internal really ACB. What's going on, my brother? These are really being added to the motherboards now for those that want to put it in a M2 capture card, and I'll show you what that is here in a minute, or an M2 storage adapter. So if you run out of M2s, or you don't have, you want to add more M2 so you're not using slower SSD speeds, that's what these ports are really for. And then you always got the SATA. Again, I don't really use the SATA much anymore because of the speed limitations, and it's just really from the cost perspective for a couple $20 or $30 more, being able to use an M2 that's much faster. And then if you use the USB 3.2 Gen 1 or Gen 2, where you're getting 5 gigabits to 10 gigabits of transfer speed to your external storage, right? It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to use the SATA to me. Call me weird, that's just how it is, especially if you're doing content creation and you're flipping back and forth. I know a lot of people go back and forth from the motherboard, or from one PC, from their content creation PC to like maybe to a MacBook to do all their editing and all that other stuff. So it's really up to you, but that's the gist of the motherboard in its simplicity. But let me find the Western Digital Black. Western Digital Black. How's your stream, CB? I saw you. Are you guys still in there doing your thing? So right here, this is what I was talking about would go into that specific storage slot, designed to go in there. Now it doesn't take up the full length. If you look, let me turn back on the camera. If you look right here, the card doesn't take up the full length, just like the Elgato HD doesn't take up the full case. It's just going to fit in there and take up enough of the slots. This is a PCI 16 slot. These are 16. That means, though, that they can hold 16, 8, 4, or even 1 generations. So most of these are PCIe 4 or 8 that'll go in here. And that's basically all they're going to be there. They're dedicated typically for that, so you get the full throughput and advantages of an M2 drive. I haven't seen these on Intel motherboards because, again, Intel is using PCIe 3, so typically you're just going to see standard PCIe ports, not a dedicated storage port on those. What's up, Mr. Melby? How are you doing this evening? Thanks for that shout-out, CB. Appreciate it. I got to give a shout-out to CB as well, since, you know, he is the man, the myth, and the legend. He's been really helpful in getting me into the YouTube side of things. And man, I got a short video up earlier, and he nailed it earlier. It was great. Surprised me how quickly I got a comment. But going back to here, you guys hear my kids screaming in the background. My wife went into work, so playing double duty with everything. But these are also great storage options. They come in 1, 2, and 4 terabytes. But bear in mind, the higher you get on them, I think it's a little overpriced. So I prefer to do just an M2 drive. Right now, I'm able to get myself some M2s once a quarter. I think like $260 or something like that. So that's really not too bad. But I prefer going with internal cards just because it takes up less space. And I don't know about you, if you guys see my desk space, which if you looked at the office tour, the more external stuff I have, the more cluttered it's going to be. So I try to keep it all in there. But again, I'm typically using internal M2 storages, and I have an 8 terabyte PCIe, not PCIe, 8 terabyte USB 3.2 Gen 1 storage system file transfers. Most of your hard drives that are coming out now today are going to be USB 3.2, and you're going to get 5 gigabits of transfer. That's wickedly fast. Unless you are the most impatient person in the world, it's not going to do you very much good to waste the money on something much faster like the new USB-C 10 gigabit transfers. It's just, for the dollar value, it's just not there yet. Soon it will be as those prices come down. But the problem is with the cryptocurrency and the new one, I think it's Cricket, something, Chirp, Crisp, I don't remember what it is, that uses SSD. Hopefully it doesn't take off, because if it does, it's going to cause shortages on SSD drives as well, which is going to be even more of a headache. But on the podcast on Friday, we're going to talk about some of the cryptocurrency stuff. I kind of hinted at the beginning of the week. We're going to dive more into it, where there's been a change in transaction fees, payout fees, and generation fees that are going to lead it to get away from the GPU mining aspect and go more to ASICs build kind of a system. Gina was there. We're going to touch on that one because people are asking more questions about it, so we'll do a dedicated section on it. We can break that down a little bit more on those. But yep, so on the motherboards. And then right now, my go-to is Micro Center to get my stuff. Just because trying to get... I am so blown away by the market and how difficult it has been to get. What's up, Mr. J? I know Jay's been in there. Well, I gotta see if this shortcut's gonna work. I put some shortcuts on the Stream Deck. Let's see if that works. I think he's Jay. Why do we have that in there? I've got one for him in Nightbot. I don't remember what it is though. Hold on, let me see Jay's command is. Command custom. Why does it not? I guess we do not have one. Let's do this real quick. Okay, there's Bob's. Okay. Bear with me just a second here, guys. I thought that Jay had one in there. Okay. Add command. Oops. Ah, wrong string. There we go. Submit. Okay. Now it should work. Let's see if that works. There we go. Okay. So I've been going to Micro Center for most of my stuff. If they can't get it, then it's because if you go to Amazon right now, you're going to pay scalper prices, which just is not cool. What I did do is I put with Micro Center, I let them. I go to products. Once the product comes in stock, I get email notification, and I go in and instantly purchase it and put it in the cart so I can go pick it up at that store. Luckily, I have one near me, This has saved me a ton. Like right now, I'm trying to get another one of the motherboards I just went over in tonight's stream. So I can have one of those on stock. And I'm trying to get as well, I want to get another controller and a couple other things just in case I have to make a flight somewhere to help someone fix PCs or anything. The biggest thing that's been bugging me about everything going on with the COVID is how difficult it is to get the parts. And when you try to ship something, it's really been bugging the crap out of me. But I use Micro Center for most of my stuff. As you can see, they've got a pretty good selection. If you go until you get to graphics cards, where's the video cards? Video cards. They got. I mean, there's three graphics cards in stock. 3 of them. It's just, and they're really low profile cards. They're old cards. You can't do anything with them. It might be something you use for a work system. I also go to Newegg to get the stuff. But even then, if we look in components, so like if you want to look at, where is it? Internal SSDs. Are we going to get like M2s? So you can get a 1 terabyte for $200. I think the Samsung's selling at $200 for a 980 for their next gen one. Your birthday present, right? This is $50 too high. I'm going to be completely honest. If you were to spend $200 on this drive from Samsung, you're spending $40 to $50 too much for the performance that you get. You're better off. Now this is an Express 3rd Gen. The write speeds aren't all that different. You'd be better off just spending $150 to $180 on something like that. This is slower. This is their 2nd gen one, but still, my go-to, which is I'm running the Sabrents in my system right now, and I've done speed tests. I have one 980 at 1 terabyte, and I have 2 of the Sabrent 1 terabytes, and I can tell you right now, performance-wise, this Sabrent for $160. This guy right here, this one. I'm not covering it up. Oh boy. Oh, right here. Better not zoom in. I'm going to lose you guys. Is way. It actually performs better. Outperforms the Samsung 980, and it's $40 less. So I mean, how do you justify it? Now, when you start talking 2 terabyte storage, that's going to get a little bit different. You'll notice that Sabrent's got a 2 terabyte drive right here, and that's almost $400. I don't think 2 terabytes is worth $400, especially since you can get a 2 terabyte drive now for anywhere from $280 to $320. Like the Crucials have them for, I want to say, around $320. For the rewrite speed changes and stuff that you're getting, there's really nothing out there, including games. You're not going to need to rewrite that fast. Only time it's really going to come into play is if you're doing databases and large data movements and maybe writing custom plans and everything. So, but $400, I don't think 2 terabytes. I think it needs to come down. I think that they've got to get away from this. Oh, but it's 2 terabytes. It is going to come down eventually. But yeah, so right now I get most of my stuff, 99% of my stuff through Micro Center. So if something goes wrong, I take it directly to them. They'll exchange it. I usually get 90 days with them. And then if I have, the house, since I buy name brand, not the cheap stuff, hard drives and hardware like the Asuses, the MSI, they've all got really good manufacturer warranties. So after the 90 days, if I have something wrong, I can always go directly to the vendor and get the parts exchanged. And a lot of times, like Asus, they'll send you a replacement and you can send the other one back. So you don't really have a lot of downtime. Some cases, they want you to send it back before you get the new one, but that is what it is. But those would be the 2 places I would go, either to Newegg, Micro Center. If you want, you can go to cdw.com and open an account with them, and you can get hardware. But what they'll do is typically you'll be able to get the part, if it's on back order, you can prepay and you're going to pay a markup for it, but that's going to put you on a list. And because they have better buying power than you, you'll be able to pay the money and then be on back order for 4, 6, 7, 8 weeks. So it takes time, but that part also gets shipped to you. You get notification and everything. Again, they got more buying power. So it depends on what you're trying to do long term. The other thing that, we got to talk about in one of the other streams coming up is why I push so hard for AMD over Intel. When all the benchmarks and stuff show that Intel just gets decimated by the new products. If you build an i9 system, it's old generation, it's PCIe 3. It's not PCIe 4. It's not, while it works with the new graphics cards, both AMD's and NVIDIA's next generation of graphics cards, while it does work with your 4th generation PCIe M2 drives, it's not taking full advantage of it. And as far as programming and gaming and multitasking, AMD with its multi-threads and everything just decimates across the board. The whole 9 yards of just everything that you can think of. When when Intel's i9 processor, its flagship one that's been running around, 10th gen one, beats out its 11th gen processor that it just brought out to compete and to be its flagship for the next 2 years, you've got a problem. And the reality is Intel's they're building their fabs, and their next real big Alder Lake one that comes out in 2022 is going to be a 7nm chip when AMD is already getting ready to bring out 5nm. So new processor format, and that new 5nm is really going to be designed to work with the new DDR5 and its new layouts and everything. I don't know what Intel really needs to get focused because it's funny how it's flipped now. Intel used to be the lead and AMD was trying to catch up. I think Intel got too comfortable sitting on top, and now AMD is just pounding away at them. So it's yeah. But you can go here. Those would be the ones that I use if you guys are looking for parts. I'm trying to get away from right now until everything's stabilized because I've had nothing but shipping problems. If I don't mind helping get people in touch with some place to buy them and facilitate them, but I don't want to go buy them and then ship them. I've had not really good experience with that lately. But it's a different story. Anyways, so I appreciate you guys coming here. On Friday, we're going to stream, do the podcast. We got a great lineup. Next Monday, I'm going to I'm going to show everybody how to set up the Series X again on the Elgato. I was supposed to do it this week, but we got sidetracked. Wanted to do this more with the motherboard before I got it put into the case that came for the wife. But we're going to live build when her case gets here. I got her a Leon Lee tower with their uni fans, which their fans all snap together. These were on back order forever and a day. So those fans, instead of having the RGB cable off of them and the power cable off of them, they snap together. So you can do, I think it does 4, if your case will fit 4 in a row, but I'm doing 3 in a row in one and 3 in the other. When that means, if you remember back when we were talking about on the motherboard, all those fan ports and those RGB headers, I don't have to use all those. Instead of using 6 fan ports and 6 RGB headers, whether I'm using a Commander Pro from Corsair or a fan power or anything, I don't have to. I just use, for one stick, if I have 3 of them daisy chained together, I just need 1 power port and 1 RGB header. And the same goes, so if I put 2 sticks in there, it's perfectly fine. Most of your AIOs, your liquid cooler blocks that go on the processors, they come with, on the radiators, 2 or 3 fans, and those all chain together, and then the water block controls all of the RGB for those, unless you specifically put it through to, like, in most cases, like a Commander Pro or a Node Pro, a little miniature Node Pro, to cover all of that. Works really, really well. But I'm looking forward to doing that. The only thing I'm not too sure about is she wanted the light up 24-pin cable. And I have to be honest, I'm not too sure. I'm not too thrilled about that one, but that's okay. it's her box to do her stuff with because we do have the old 2080 Ti around here somewhere. It's behind the Gundam boxes that she's going to put in that box, and her and Calvin are going to use that one for their streaming. And actually, I think that's also going to be the 3D printer box that we're going to set up to do live 3D printing. So what I did is I went out and found a bunch of, you guys might like this one. I found a bunch of plans or diagrams for various Destiny sizes for Destiny ghosts, figures, handguns, the weapons and everything. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it up on a site, and people can, now I'm not going to paint them or anything, but what I want to do is, and I got it for not just Destiny, but for some other games where those plans are out there. If people want to come out and they want to buy a print, they can pay for the print, and then it'll live stream the 3D print of that item. And if they want to, they can watch it live stream the whole time that it's 3D printing, and it'll be on a different channel. But they can watch it start to finish. People can see everything that goes into that 3D print part of it. But that was the idea behind that, at least. So hopefully we get that set up in the next 4 or 6 weeks and get that rolling. But we have stuff for Destiny, or so for Bungie stuff. Some of the Outrider stuff is out there. Some Mario stuff. I got the ones that I want. My son wants me to do is the question mark cube from Mario Brothers. So we'll see how that one goes. Should be pretty interesting. And then, yeah, we'll see. I don't know how it'll go, but I'll also that'll be the same setup we're using for the live Lego builds. We're going to do Lego Nintendo, I think is what Calvin and I are going to do. I'm not sure, but yep. That'd be cool, Bob. Anyways, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to end this. I'm going to go check on my kids and everything. And then I don't know. I worked kind of late tonight, so I don't know if I'm going to stream when we're on Twitch tonight. I literally got off work at like 5:40, and then I jumped on a call with Unforsaken and with Otto to get some planning in place for the podcast on Friday. And then just talk about what we're doing on the 21st of this month for fundraisers. We worked with Children's Hospital to get a link set up as we're doing the hot noodles, which I got to get sent out to CB and a couple other people. As we eat those noodles, that we're going to have donation links. And what I worked with was Tiltify, which is the one that a lot of the Bungie streamers and Bungie use to do the live donations to the charitable foundation. So I worked with Children's to make sure that the link we have, the money goes towards their mental health and depression research and treatment cost center, I guess. So that'd be pretty cool. So we're talking about all that stuff, and we're getting that all rolling. But I'm really excited for the 21st. I'm excited to try. We have a new tool we're using for the podcast on Friday. So the podcast appearance is going to be a little bit graphically different. Hopefully it doesn't have any errors. We did find out that while I'm using it, I have to unplug all but one of my cam links because it doesn't quite understand not to get confused. So we can talk about that. We're going to start talking about different podcast solutions you can use if you don't want to use Discord, if you don't want to use Zoom or anything like that. So anyways, that's where we're at. I appreciate everyone that hung out tonight. I wish that YouTube had a raid so I can go raid people. But Nate popped in here tonight. I want to say hi and thanks to everyone that came in. I really do appreciate it. It does mean a whole lot to me. It's essentially, it feels like I'm starting over again when I'm streaming on YouTube. But I do believe the way that I'm setting up the format to do technical streams, and I learned tonight that I need to work on my camera control and figure out how to better control the zoom and where to place it. So I'm thinking I'll lay down on the table like a grid so I can understand where everything is going. And that way I'm not moving the board all over the place. And instead of moving the board, I will zoom the camera in to make it easier. So we'll figure that out. It's going to take practice. I figured if I move it to the right on the stream, it's going to move it to the left. I got to flip it. Maybe I'll flip those in the future so it doesn't do that. But yeah, if you have any questions, hit me up. If you guys haven't followed me or subscribed on YouTube, please go do so. I would greatly appreciate it. Trying to get the discoverability on here is the biggest thing for me. Okay, Bob, I'll make sure to give a shout. Is that I I'm consistent. I get videos put up, and I stay on there because I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs. A lot of people are like, "Oh, you can do it in a month," and I'm like, "I don't want to do it in a month," but we'll get. So the goal every month is 15 to 20 new subs every month. That doesn't sound like a lot, but I think as long as I'm consistent with it, it'll be great. So, and then let me know either in comments or on Twitter or on Discord if I'm putting too much on my Twitter account or my social media accounts trying to promote it. I'm doing YouTube shorts and I'm doing the YouTube videos. So I try to use those platforms to let people know, hey, those videos are up. Please go take a look. Same with Facebook. Anyways, you guys mean the world. I appreciate it. I will let you know if I decide to stream on Twitch tonight. Right now, I've got to go check on the kids, and I'd much rather get some time with them because normally when I was at the other job, I'd be off by 4, and I would get an hour or two in with them before I streamed. I haven't spent any time with them all right yet tonight, and I don't think that's fair. I never want to sacrifice time with my family, especially with my kids. I don't want them thinking that they take second place to streaming, so I'm going to go do that. But there's a very high probability I will be back in game tonight. I just don't know what game I'm going to play. There's a lot of them coming out. I do know that we need to get ready and run with JJ and all them for some practice runs. I don't know how many of the guys in there. I don't think JJ's run very many. I don't know if he's run VOG at all. But I know we got a day one Volta Glass team that needs some practice. So, anyways, thank you guys. I appreciate it. I believe CB's still streaming. If he is, let me double check. If CB's still on, you guys probably already know here from his community. The only other things I'm trying to do too, this is going to sound weird, is I want to expand their community, not to be only our CB Gray and our Vegeta Plays and all you awesome, amazing Destiny 2 streamers, but I would really like to expand our community to bring in more a broader range of gamers and those that are really looking to learn and to have help with not only gaming, but with also building gaming PCs and getting some more knowledge out there for cybersecurity. So I'm going to have a stream next week where we're going to talk about ransomware. We're going to talk about home safety and some of the stuff that kids are facing right now. Then more things. So we'll have a more focused YouTube stream on cybersecurity aspects. Just be ready for that. Anyways, I know I said it a few times. I love you guys. You are awesome. I will see you in game. Hit me up on the medias if you need anything. I'll see you guys later.